Yesterday saw the release of an album by Galen and Paul Simonon and Galen Ayers, daughter of Kevin. The album is called Can We Do Tomorrow Another Day? Not before we said good morning to Paul Simonon. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning there.
Tell us about Room at the Top. There's a track on the album called Never Had a Good Time in Paris. This is also a Parisian setting, isn't it?
That is a Parisian setting. But Room at the Top it could feasibly be a room in itself or else somewhere in the back of your mind.
Oh, I see.
I see.
Great
Big
sound.
organ, apparently played by Dan Donovan on some Big Audio Dynamite.
There's a lot of stellar collaborators on this record, which we'll talk to Paul Simonon about more. This is the new single from Galen and Paul, Room at the Top. Our special guest on First Last Everything this morning is Paul Simonon. Let's talk about your first enthusiasm, which is Eddie Cochran, something else. So tell us a little bit about how old you were when you heard this and what it did for you and where you were and things like that.
Yes, good morning. Well, it's, how should we start? I lived in Goulburn Road off Labatt Grove, and so there used to be a record shop there called Ted Carroll's.
Oh, he started a label, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I think it was Chiswick.
Chiswick, yeah.
Yes.
But I used to go into his. It was like a little arcade, and I think what was difficult is really hard to see any of the records in there because it was there's sort of a wall of burly teddy boys with draped coats. But I think I was probably about 14, 15, and I used to hang out in the back and just listen because the main music I grew up to was sort of West Indian music, like Jamaican stuff.
Yeah.
Sort of. And but then it's like there was a bit of there was a climate of intimidation to all my friends at school, and so what led me really going to this record store is that I went to a party with my friends and somebody said, "Oh, why is he here?" And it's because I was a white face, and it was a time of burning spear and black consciousness. So, and obviously with the intimidation of the local community by the place, it was like, it's a moment of people pulling together. So I sort of, in my own naive way, thought, well, I'll try and find out what my music is.
Right.
Hence going to buying the Eddie Cochran album with the money that I earned from working down Portobello Market.
Right. Okay. What did you do on Portobello Market, Paul?
I sold candles that were in the shape of hands.
Wow.
Well, that's quite straightforward because the person I worked for, he used to pour wax into rubber gloves that had the wicks in already, and you could manipulate the fingers accordingly. And he spent most of his time in the pub, so basically I was looking after the stall, and which was amazing because all through the year, rain, snow, you name it, you're just standing there, and the whole world seemed to pass.
Yeah.
People speaking Italian, Spanish, all types of people from all over the world. It was quite a eye-opening experience.
Well, and this is a really boring question, but I'm interested. How did you two meet?
Well, we've known each other for over 10 years, but never really thought about making music. We're just like friends. And I got back from being in Spain where I'd been working on sort of art and coming up with a few ideas for songs.
Was this your 18-month escape to a place where you could only get there by boat?
Well, I was trying to escape from there, but because at a certain time of the year, the ferry stopped. Well, I was in London for the first lockdown, and when it eased off, then I went to Mallorca to work, really. But then the Brexit thing came in, and I realised, oops, I outstayed my welcome because I was only supposed to be there for three months. But then I realised my passport was going to run out, but then it hadn't been stamped, so I sort of hid out there for a little bit longer. Came back to London eventually, and my friend, mutual friend, he said, "Oh, Galen is staying at mine at the moment." So I went over to see her. She talked about me maybe doing some music, playing bass on a record, on some ideas she had. And anyway, at the end of it, we said, well, let's just work together. And as long as we're totally honest with each other, let's see where it goes. And, we made an album.
Great, yeah. So, when you were making it, did you think? So, when you were making it, you didn't think this is definitely going to be an album. You're just going to say, well, it's a work in progress, and if we like it, we'll do it.
Well, it just built up because Galen had quite a few songs. I had quite a few, and we just sort of created some new ones between us, and overlooked what we'd done already as a 50-50 joint adventure.
Yeah.
We're going to play another song from it called Lonely Town now, because and I absolutely love this, because Galen had a really interesting upbringing, as you might, sort of like hippie enclaves in parts of Mallorca, which have since become incredibly shishi, and like no one can go and live. I think that what was originally a commune set up for artists by her mother and stepfather is now owned by the richest man in the world, who owns Louis Vuitton and things like that, which gives you. But this song is sort of has chimes in the UK as well, where there's sort of discussions about second homes and how they close down for half the year in those places. It's very appropriate, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's like, suddenly the local pub goes, suddenly the local community can't afford to live there. It's sort of happening everywhere. I mean, it even happened in where I grew up in Ladbroke Grove. Eventually, after a while, everybody I knew had been priced out of the area.
Yeah. Well, we'll hear Lonely Town. One of the things I really love about this album is that it's almost like a kind of seaside town, out-of-season atmosphere. There's a sort of jollity, but a melancholy side to it as well. I don't know whether that's the blend of the two voices in some ways.
Well, it's the nature of the songs too. It depends on the song. I mean, obviously, Room at the Top is not very melancholic.
No.
It's very dramatic. But as you say, there is definitely a whiff of melancholia.
Yeah.
Tell
us
about Nahid Akhtar and your liking for Nahid's music.
Yeah. Well, about 7 years ago, Damon Albarn, he said, "Oh, this is a good album that you like," and it was called Bombshell Baby from Bombay.
Okay.
And it's like songs written by R.D. Burnham for sort of Bollywood cinema. And just in my exploration, I discovered Nahid Akhtar, and that sort of led me into exploring that music and her voice. I really love her voice. And as it happened recently, a friend of mine, musician, singer, Nabiha Iqbal,
yes,
she was in Pakistan, and I said, "Oh, bring us back some records." And she bought some records herself and brought me a few back. So I really like all different types of music, because it's, in fact, some of the early R.D. Burnham, when you hear the sort of music, it sounds like pre-Morricone.
Yes.
It's really interesting, and it's like one moment it sounds sort of French vibe, then it goes into Morricone, and it's spaghetti western, and then the sitar comes in. It's like I really like the way they. You never know what's coming next.
Paul Simonon is with us doing a first, last, and everything. I was watching the video of you and now Galen.
Yes.
And you were sort of strumming the guitars for that Lonely Town thing, and it looked like busking. But didn't you do some busking for some of these songs?
I did. It's funny because the busking idea came about really when. The tail end of the Clash, Strummer used to busk on the London Underground. He said it was a good way to suss out if the song works or not. And so I applied that same idea to this project. So, me and a few local characters in Spain, we went into the street and started strumming a few songs. And, Did
you make any money?
No, it's for free. But the thing is that people were so pleased to see us.
Did they know who you were?
No, they didn't.
No.
But what was great is they were so pleased to see us because everyone had been locked indoors for the past 2 years because of the COVID issues,
Of course.
So, and live music on the sidewalk or pavement was joy,
Yeah. Talking of live music, are you going to do this live?
Yeah, we've got a couple of shows lined up. We've got one at the Tabernacle. I think it's either 7th or 9th. I'm so sort of there's so much on at the moment that I don't know whether I'm coming or going. But I'm going. I know that.
We'll check that and let
we
people
will check
know.
that and give people the dates. Yeah, absolutely. Your everything. You mentioned your love of Jamaican and West Indian music, Paul, and for your everything, your love of you've chosen for us the heptones.
Yeah.
Tell us about where would you first have heard Equal Rights?
Well, probably about the sort of 70s, 70s, because at that period, as I mentioned about the Eddie Cochran period, I heard the heptones, and its music at that point was sort of like rock steady, and then it evolved into what we know as reggae. But the heptones were sort of quite important to me because when the Clash started, I've never played an instrument in my life, and it was really down to Mick Jones and his patience, who sort of guided me through the rudiments to the point that I realised if I get stickers and put them on the neck of the bass and write A, B, or whatever the chord or note required, I could just apply my fingers to that. If he just shouts out G, then I've got it.
Yeah.
So what I found really interesting was like by playing along to the heptones, I could hear the bass for a start because it was reggae, and also the way Leroy Sibble plays, it's sort of like it's like footsteps. It's like the way you move or the way you dance. And I was really fortunate to speak to Leroy Sibble about 3 months ago, and I said thank you so much for teaching me how to walk, which is my way of saying musically how to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. We'll hear Equal Rights by the Heptones. So we love this record, Paul, and we hope to see you and Galen doing it live sometime. And, continued success with your art and everything.
And thank you for joining us, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, lovely. Thanks so much, yeah.
Okay, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cheerio.